What's good, y'all? Welcome to an episode of the GinTV podcast. I know y'all looking and y'all, it's not familiar to y'all, and that's because today we are in Chicago. But as always, it's your host Eazy.
It's your boy Manu.
And A1DasauceGod.
And today we got a very, very special guest. We got a cultural engineer here.
Yes, sir.
We got Evan Marshall from Black Menswear. How you doing, bro?
Doing good. Thank y'all for having me. Appreciate y'all for coming to my city. Appreciate
Absolutely.
A beautiful city, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I love it. The architecture's dope.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got the water, it's dope.
Well, we were talking about before, like the PR for Chicago. It's not doing its justice, man.
It's
I mean,
dope.
this is a beautiful city.
I mean, it's so crazy. People always say that because, like, we were talking about earlier off camera, like the perception, obviously I'm not trying to minimize like the situation with the violence and things that we have out here, but like, I mean, every city has that, whether it's Baltimore, New York, y'all from Connecticut, Hartford, we talking about New Haven earlier, Milwaukee, Detroit, it don't matter. Like everybody has its positive areas and its negative areas, but like people don't get to highlight the positive areas about Chicago as well. And it's a really beautiful city and it's great.
No, absolutely. Actually, a couple of our friends told us to not even come on this trip. That it's way too
real.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Like that's sad though.
I guess what the difference that separates it is the fact that like, it doesn't make headlines nationally consistently.
Yeah.
And especially like in the urban community, like, Chief Keef, Lil Durk, like all of those rappers, we pretty much just hear the negative side of Chicago. But then you don't really get to hear how beautiful this fucking city is.
It's funny you say that too, because you think about that, but also the other rappers from Chicago, Chance the Rapper, Kanye West,
absolutely,
Common, right? You don't view them in that same light, though, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Bro, actually, you look like you could be Chance the Rapper's cousin. I'm looking at you right now. Like, that's making sense.
I got to shout out Chance.
Shout out Chance.
Yeah.
But to focus more on the positive side, I mean, what you and your group are doing right now is amazing. Like, so how did you guys? So I didn't even tell you guys this. So I've been posting like that we've been here. And I tell you, my DMs have been blowing up. Like, yo, where y'all at? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, yo, why is everybody's so fly? So this is one of the people responsible for it. So how did you guys start?
Well, that's a good question. So my business partner, A1DasauceGod, he started it in 2018.
Okay.
The reason he started it was the Philando Castile. So specifically Philando Castile, because that's the situation when you think, quote unquote, he did everything right.
Right.
In terms of, obviously he had a license to carry his gun. The police officer approached. He said, hey, he informed him, I do have a weapon in the vehicle. It is in the glove compartment, but just so you know, I have a weapon in the vehicle. Yes. And he's reaching for his license. He tells him what he is doing, but then the cop still obviously felt like a threat.
Yeah.
And then obviously, which happens in any of those situations, even not when they kill, just any time, especially a person of color, black, Hispanic, whatever is arrested, they drag you through the mud.
Absolutely.
Right. So then they did anything they could to justify, and when he was 15, he got suspended from school for missing class for 20 days. You know what I'm saying? Like they do that kind of stuff.
They're digging for the dirt, pretty much.
That's what that's what honestly gets me the most annoyed about every one of these situations is like, yo, you'll go through your Twitter like from like 2005. Well, he tweeted this. It's like stay to the point. Like that, yo, we all say dumb shit. We've all made mistakes, but like how hard they go to hyper focus on like these minuscule negatives about a person's life just to justify killing them is insane.
Exactly. And then from that, so they didn't find anything. And that's what made it an interesting situation. So he realized in that moment, like if they're doing it to him, what are they going to say about me if that happens in my city?
Right.
So what he needs to do is like, I need to create a legacy, some level of positivity, because he has two young boys. So like, how could I put all these images, going back to that PR thing, of black male positivity out there? So it kind of just started from that. And then honestly, from that, it kind of just started growing and growing and growing. And then one of the things we like to say too is a lot of times you look at, Black excellence is often rooted in rappers, athletes, and entertainers. That's
absolutely.
You need those two, not negating that, because honestly, that's a lot of ways we've been able to make success.
Right.
You don't hear about the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, the philanthropists. That's why, like, at the flash mob yesterday, you heard Dre ask, like, hey, how many of y'all are business owners?
Yeah.
How many of y'all are philanthropists, right? Because we need, even within our own community, we need to know about each other. So the more we can highlight those people, that's really the essence of what we're trying to do, is highlight those people, highlight black excellence, change the narrative of how we portray in the media. So then that way we can kind of, You see me in a suit one day, okay, it's not about the suit, but the next black guy you see in a hoodie, you might view him differently because you just saw me down the street. Like, okay, if that dude would be a businessman, oh, he's just wearing a hoodie right now because he's just chilling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what it's really about.
And to actually see the reaction that like the locals are giving you guys, like whenever they walk by, was amazing too. Like I was talking to my girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, look at all of these people just like gazing onto this group of black men. Some people will question if it's a wedding. Some people are really just intrigued as to what's going on. Like I had so many people come up to me asking me, well, what's happening, and I had to like give a description.
Right.
And I think like that's something that we need like more in the urban community as well, or just and on a African American scale as well, because it's like, you know, we're almost deemed as like the bottom of the barrel in a sense, and I feel like we're not really appreciated, or we're not really portrayed in a way where we can be excellent, and we can have like some sort of firm standing in the community.
And even to that point, like everybody can be excellent in terms of who they are, right? Like a lot of times people like, you know, just human nature, we compare ourselves to each other. But at the end of the day, like your journey is not mine.
Yeah.
Your journey is not his. Your journey is not his. Even though all y'all are friends and y'all on this podcast together, even how y'all got to this point to where you are hosting the show is different.
Yeah.
Right. So and even in your journey moving forward is going to be different as well, even though you guys are intertwined. So how you define excellent has got to be excellent for you. Got to be excellent for you and got to be excellent for you. So you also got to believe in that yourself. So the more even just, you know, being around each other, getting that good energy, other people that are just, you know, living in their truth, living in their path and believing in their excellence, well, will even continue to motivate you to be on that same drive and continue to, you know, focus on your own journey.
I mean,
that's actually a great point because like where we come from, there's a lot of people that don't really wear a lot of suits. So when I see somebody wearing a suit in the hood, it's like people look at them sideways, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, "Oh, the terminology is like you're a little square." So I want to know, like, how has your influence from wearing a suit on a constant basis and just looking good all the time, how has that made an influence in the urban community?
That's a good question. So we was when we did our Atlanta flash mob. One of our guys, his name is Spice, he said he was in the elevator in the hotel, and this guy got on the elevator with two girls, and he looked at Spice and was like, "Oh, you dress like a white person."
Right.
Like he said to his face?
Yeah, it's a black guy said that to him, and Spice was like, "No, I'm dressed like an adult."
Oh, okay.
But the point,
good comeback.
The point being though is two things. One is like, the fact that you to see somebody in the suit has to mean you dress like a white person. That means, to your point, in his community, with everyone, he not even living there, no matter where he's at, he doesn't see men, especially black men, in suits ever.
Right.
So even the concept of somebody working, regardless of the occasion, the only reason you would wear a suit is you trying to be an Uncle Tom. You got to like a white person. Even if you fresh, it wasn't like he had the blue blazer on with the khakis and the Sperry's. You know what I'm saying? Like he was fresh. So it's like, but that's in his mind, that's what he falls back to. And at the same time, for Spice to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it." And the women, he said, the woman he was in the other chuckled with Spice in the back, like, dude didn't even think the dude was gonna say something. He was gonna clap back at him, right?
Yeah.
But I think that to me is one essence of it. But also, it's like we were talking about it the other day. It's like going back to the Black Exodus thing, especially for young boys, Afro Latino.
That's what I really that's like, what I loved when I was at the event. When I saw the kids, I have a 7-year-old son myself,
right?
And I was like, I gotta bring him to one of these. Like, yo, like just having the kids right there, like that's like life changer for them. You know what I mean? Like that's so powerful.
Because it's the exposure, right?
Exactly.
And that's what it's about in the urban community. It's the exposure. You still don't know. You can't become something that you don't see.
Yeah,
exactly.
So a lot of the times in the urban community, you aren't exposed to that doctor, that lawyer, the engineer. Like you don't know. Any of us in here, this room could be doctors. I don't know that unless I see you in your scrubs.
Yeah.
Have you had an event where you went into urban community and presented the same way you presented in downtown Chicago?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, we've done those. We do a lot of speaking engagements. So our Taylor Jacob, he does this. He goes. We've done a lot of different colleges, especially in Dallas. That's where Andre and Jacob are based. I'm looking on the HBCU that's based in Dallas, but they do a lot of things with the school there. With those kids. We've done some partnerships with the Urban League. We're doing some partnerships right now with the National Big Brother Big Sister chapter, trying to get some of the guys that come out work with us to be mentors to some of the kids that they have in that. And that's a perfect example too. Like it needs to just be Like the guys that we have also need to be mentors.
Absolutely.
So to your point, I met one of the guys yesterday. He goes, I have a nonprofit. It's actually focusing on coding, trying to get black young, like 14-year-olds to be coding.
That's like the new.
That's
That's
a great
definitely like the new wave too.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't code, but he's like, I just want you to come speak to them, kind of show even what you guys done from a social media standpoint, to show like what you can do to kind of get the message out there. So I'm gonna go speak to them in 2 weeks. So those are the kind of things done. So like, I wouldn't say necessarily like in the community in terms of like hands-on like volunteering, but we've done things, Urban League, Big Brothers Big Sisters, different mentorship programs.
I mean, that's
amazing.
That's the key to really make the change. Is like you got to start with the youth. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
So if you're getting them early on and you're showing them like, yo, this is what you could look like this is how you could dress, instead of just seeing. I mean, yo, we all like to get fly. You feel me? We like to put some Jordan. I mean, actually, I seen some real nice like people dressed yesterday with like the suits and like still sneakers but like, yo, like you look fresh, but you still had that flavor of just like your professionalism. Like I love seeing that kind of stuff. But if you can show kids that like, yo, like you can still dress down or in a chill, but you have this like as an option too, like you're gonna just change like their whole mind.
You can still be flying just nice, like
exactly.
Yo, because usually I think when people think of suits, they just kind of think of a regular black suit or a regular blue suit. I mean, yo, the suits that we saw yesterday was just like a next level.
And that's what it is. People will be like, what's with the suit? It's like, I ain't wearing a suit ever. It's like, I mean, you're going to have those people that say that. Why you don't have to wear a suit? Do you have to wear a suit? Like, no, you don't have to wear a suit to be the best version of yourself. Yeah. But at the same time, like, you can be fly in a suit as well. Like, oftentimes people, when you think of suits, you think that plain gray suit, that plain black suit you wear for a funeral. We always joke all the time that every flash mob, the blue group is always the biggest group, right? Because everybody has a plain blue suit. Everybody got one, right? The
crazy thing, we were just talking about
it's universal. Everybody got a blue suit, right? Wait, so you got those groups, but at the same time, like I had a double-breasted linen suit on yesterday, and I wore that suit out to a pool party afterwards, and everybody in there was like, "Yo, that's fresh," right? And it's at the same time, it's like, none of these guys in there. I was the only person, Lily, in it's a pool party, but it's linen, so it was summer break, summer vibes. But I was the only person there with a suit on. But everybody thought it was dope. Yeah. Right? So like if you put it together and put a look together, it doesn't just have to be this stuffy. I just got a black suit on and a basic white, black tie. And I'm looking like I'm just going to work or looking like a valet driver. No offense to anybody that's a valet driver, but that's kind of the conception you can kind of shift a little bit.
I mean, well, even your fit today, like you look really comfortable, but then it's also you're able to walk into an office or go on a business meeting or something like it's even something like this. Like you're able to, you're just always prepared for, I guess, whatever's ahead.
If you look at the history of black men in suits, it goes back to like when we started doing really well in the community, where we had like our own Black Wall Street, but not to blame the government, because I tend to blame the government a lot for a lot of the downfalls that we've had. But once we started to thrive, that's when the government came in and just started shutting things down and bombing our communities. And then we started losing that look of having a suit on and just looking good. And at some point, I think in the 90s or something, or the 80s, we started dressing up. We started down dressing. Right. So can you touch up on the history of like the suit in the black community a little?
That's a good. So to that point, think about it. Every time you see Malcolm X, what's he wearing?
A suit.
Every time you see Martin Luther King, what's he wearing?
A suit.
Yeah, Sidney Poitier, Sammy Davis Jr., right? Does it on and on. Chicago, y'all seen that photo of those iconic kids. It's like the 5 kids sitting on that like old school car. Yeah. And they all sit posted up. Like that's dope, right? Every single time. And I think to your point, it kind of shifted over time. Rightfully so. I think it shifted so far because we were trying so far to debunk these narratives of I have to be this, that we kind of got away from Action Taylor. Because if you honestly think about like how far we went, like you think about 2001, 2000, you had dudes
wear parachute pants, man. Like,
that came from jail.
That's crazy. And then we was talking about that the other day too. Even sagging pants, like people, the reason sag, that's because when you was in jail,
you was letting them know.
You was letting them know. So the fact that even came out is crazy. But even in like, I'm a size medium t-shirt. It's dudes that was my size in like the early 2000s that were literally going to store and buying 2X.
Yo, the stuff that I wore when I was like 10, 12 wouldn't fit me today. Like it was the clothes is that big back then. Like, and it's like, yo, when you look at the pictures, like when you're younger, I almost cringed myself. Like, oh, like this is what I was wearing.
Right. And even to your point, I think part of that is the government, like the history of the suit. A lot of those things kind of get shifted. Like even then, people don't hear about black cowboys, right? They were called dandies, right? They were called a dandy, a guy that dressed well, and a man of elegance. That's what a dandy is. They were the black dandies. That was all throughout the South. Even talking about Black Wall Street, those are stories, and because those aren't in the books, we didn't have YouTube when we was growing up, but those weren't in the books. You weren't reading about it. That essence of why you would do that elegance, that class, kind of fell by the wayside. So you didn't have that anymore.
Right. That's a great point. I feel like I said, I don't like to blame the government for everything. They have a major influence, and as a community, we have to take credit for some of the downfalls because the hip hop obviously changed the culture, and you see basketball players dressing a certain way in the 90s. So as a young black man, you're gonna try to emulate whatever is being portrayed on TV, and that's the cool thing to do. But I see a huge movement now where you see a lot of basketball players. They're just like fresh with like tailored suits. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a big shift in the
but I mean, you think about it, if you look at all the photos of Jordan back in the day, Jordan always had a suit on.
True,
right?
I mean, it might have been like triple his size too.
Correct.
Jordan's pant game is crazy.
Yeah. Remember Jalen Rose?
Yeah.
When he showed up?
But like,
shout out Jalen though.
Y'all seen the photo of like Jordan getting out the Ferrari?
Yeah.
Right? He always has like his jacket carried. He always had a cigar because Jordan. And why? Because he was about his business. Right? Yeah. He was about his business. I'm the businessman, and I'm about his business. That's what I play, but I'm about my business. And I think one of the things, obviously, shout out to Allen Iverson though, because he was representing the culture with he did push it forward with the jersey, with the tall tees, with the jackets and things of that nature, and the do rags and the coat. That was who he was. He was truly essence of himself. But to your point, the shift, even if you look at like LeBron style, right? Now LeBron, you see a lot more him refined now. Why? Because what's his moniker? More than the athlete. Right. So a lot of times what you have to see now, that's kind of really what it really goes into. The reason they're doing it is because you have to be representative of the fact I'm more than just what you see me on the basketball court. I love Kyle Kuzma's style, by the way. It's extra and it's a lot, but it's authentically him. Right. Like it's what he. And so it's not about
it's like an art style.
Exactly. It's not a matter. It's not a matter of what I would wear it or D Wade would wear it or LeBron. Like Kuz, just do you. And a lot of people hate it. Like no.
Same thing with Westbrook.
Yeah, exactly. Like do him exactly.
Yeah. Because the way you dress is I look at it as like how I dress as a form of art. It's like wearable art, and you could obviously switch. Because like when you look good, you feel good,
right?
And that's so important to like the outcome of your day. I think like when you wake up in the morning, you put that nice suit on or whatever like fit that you just like I'm killing it. Like
and regardless of that, it don't even got to be the suit. I say all the time like what you wear is how you want to express yourself to the world today, right? Exactly. So like if you just want to have a sweatsuit on. Cool. Yeah. I'm chilling. I'm relaxed. I'm just got something to do. That's casual. There's nothing wrong with that. But like when you leave the house, you got to think, I'm choosing to put this on. So when
I look at it like, what statement am I making today, right? I feel like you said, when Jordan wore suits, he's about his business. So because usually when you see someone that's really like dressed very proper, like, all right, like especially if you're going to a business type setting, you're like, all right, like this guy's not messing around. Like we're here for business. Like you're making a statement.
Right. And there's actually, so we talk doing the speaking engagements with the youth. There's this thing that we talk about all the time. It's called enclosed cognition. It actually is the study of how what you wear affects your cognitive process. So it's exactly what you're talking about. So they've done studies at Harvard to where they gave them the same exact test. Like, hey, come in here, wear whatever you want. Then the next time they came back, after they rearranged the questions, but it was the same exact questions. They gave them all lab coats. Everybody in that test did 80% better than they did the previous time. Why? Just because you inherently felt more confident. So you're not second guessing your own answers the first time. Same thing with women, right? But women's going to a business meeting, she ain't bringing out the Jessica Simpson heels. She gonna bring them Prada heels. Yeah. She gonna put them on and be like, I'm about to go kill them, right? Yeah. And it's that, and it's to your point. That's the cognitive process of it. Like you look at me like, I'm about to go crush this today. Whether it's like if you go propose your girl. you about to be like, yo, I'm gonna look good today. I'm about to propose. She gotta say yes. I'm gonna be looking so good. She gotta say yes to me. Right. And you just gonna have that inherent confidence within yourself. And that's what it's about. And you can do that. It doesn't matter what, it doesn't have to be a suit, but you can do that no matter what you wear. But when you put it on, that's how you express it.
It doesn't have to be a suit, but when it is a suit, though, I think your level of confidence is like a whole
100%.
Like
everybody's like, oh, y'all gotta wear suits. Like, bro, you know when you, even if you go into that wedding, you know when you put that suit on and you hit this on the tie, you know you looking at yourself in the mirror like, damn, I look good. If you don't say that to yourself, you lying. Everybody does that, bro.
I mean, I think like we're trying to like, I feel like we're almost kind of trying to downplay this suit a little bit just to kind of give everybody a good feeling about wearing whatever. But honestly, the suit that's top tier. I feel like you said, yo, you go somewhere, like, and when you look in the mirror right before you leave the house, you're like, yo, like I'm like I don't know what I'm about to do, but I'm doing something. Like, yo, like I'm about to do damage out here, and especially like your confidence level, just be like, boy, like.
Question: do you play golf?
I'm decent. My short game is trash. I ain't gonna lie. I can drive cool, my putt's cool, but getting onto the green, can't do it, bro.
All right. Just wanted to, a lot of times with people, like you said, Michael Jordan, right? He had that persona where he wanted to be successful, and one of the things that he did was wear a suit all the time. But he also like played golf, and that's something that the community doesn't really know about, where you could really network, and you could be looked a little sideways when you do that. I mean, I have friends that think that it's just a trash game and it's boring.
That's not what they're used to.
Yeah, something that you're not used to, and something that you could move into in order to gain some networking.
Because to your point on the network, the reason it's networking or golf, you play 18 holes, you about to be out here for 2 or 3 hours.
Exactly.
Four.
We used to be caddies, so we.
So so it's like you're gonna be talking to this person the entire time. Yeah. Ain't no phones, ain't no TVs. Y'all not watching the game, so that's why business deals get done on the golf course. So I'm gonna be out here with you for 3 to 4 hours. Right. So like we've been. Actually, that's not the first meeting. You've already been doing your emails. You done had your conference calls. You done had your presentations. So now we out here. Now we really getting to know each other, and it's really be like, you know what? Am I really gonna give you this money? Like for the person you are, not for the deal. The reason I'm on this course, your deal's already good enough. I wouldn't be here on this course with you, spending these 3 to 4 hours with you, if I didn't believe what you were offering was gonna be good enough for my company, right? Okay. But now I'm determining over the next 3 or 4 hours, am I gonna give you the money? Right. And if the vibe is cool, I'm gonna give you that. That's why deals get done. So to your point, the reason I don't know that, and it's like they think about it solely for the game. Not aspect of terms of what I'm actually doing, camaraderie, spending the time. And even then, just playing with even the 4 of us. If we went out there and just played 18 holes, we gonna be friends afterwards. We gonna be friends afterwards.
I think that's another good way of how to look at the black men's or the flash mob. It's a great way to network, and you guys are isolated in one area for a certain amount of time, and you're getting to engage with each other during that time. I mean, obviously, a lot of times at the end, you end up meeting new people, networking and stuff like that. But I think that having everybody in a central location rather than communicating, over email, over Facebook, and all of that is a great way to build a relationship. And remind me of your title again. And
so I'm the VP of Partnerships.
VP of Partnerships. So what does that entail? Like, have you seen any I guess influx in like the community within black men's fashion itself? Like, people referring to somebody else for their expertise, and then vice versa. And also, what does your job entail within like the black menswear as well?
Yeah. So the first part of that question, it's always interesting because we get new people all the time, right? So even like a lot of people like that know I live here that know me, like they've been doing it. We haven't done Chicago since like 2019, so it's been 2 years.
Okay,
but how we've grown since then is.
I'm actually surprised when you said you guys started this in 2018. Yeah, it seems like y'all are like I was at a guess like 2010, 2012. I mean, like the way you guys are so like feel established. Like when I was like around the group, it's like, oh, this has been around for a long time. Like, like 3 years.
That's the same thing
like,
I felt. Yeah,
that's just because we got a good team. You know what I'm saying? That's just because we got a good team, and everybody's also invested. Yeah, like not financially, just genuinely cares. Yeah, right? Like genuinely invested in this. So.
It's also like you had an idea and you put action into it and you execute it, and 100%. That's a big thing that a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, 100%. That goes back to changing the narrative, right? We always think about, especially we always talk about this all the time, especially when it comes to like Black-owned businesses. A lot of times it's interesting, and I say this with all positivity, it's like a lot of times when it comes to other Black people, we lower the bar rather than raising the bar. Okay. So like how many times you go to a restaurant and it's like they don't give you the quality service that you would want.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, honestly, like, no, you should give me better service than I should get going to any other restaurant, because if the service here is good, I'm going to come back. And I'm going to tell my other friends to come back. But oftentimes we feel like, oh, no, bro, dog, you my guy. Right? You know? What's that 40-year-old version, Kevin Hart? Don't be my man, be my nigga. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what
First
we
of all, I ain't nobody's nigga.
Exactly. But that's that energy that we have a lot of times. And it's like, nah, bro, look, I shouldn't have to do that. We should hold ourselves to a higher standard. Yeah. But going back to your point about people come and they're like, oh, like, it's so much more than just a photo shoot.
Right.
Because you get everybody's welcoming. Everybody's dapping up. Yo, my name is Evan. I do this. Yo, I do this. I do that. And I drive all the time. Like, bro, talk to each other. Y'all about to be here for the next hour and a half. Talk. And that's why we always, going back earlier, we open up. Who is entrepreneur? Like, this is the ecosystem is here. One of the things we talk about is there's this theory called 1,000 true fans, right? So if you have 1,000 true fans, that is a true fan. That means they will do anything that you do. So for you all with your podcast, if you have 1,000 true listeners, that means they're going to listen to every episode. If you have T-shirts, they're going to buy the T-shirt. If you want to host a brunch, they're going to come.
They're
fully invested. If you get 1,000 people to spend $100 a year in your business, that's $100,000. That's not that much. Yeah, $100 a year, not a month. $100 a year ain't that much. You can. So $100,000.
Yeah, that's actually I've never really put that in perspective.
$100,000 a year. That's not a lot, but that's enough to have a sustainable business, right? So if you can do that, that's what it's about. So we say that towards like, if it's 200 of us here as men, if you own a barbershop, you a mentor, you own like a nonprofit organization, it's 200 guys that can have $1,000. You got 10 dudes that can be those true fans within this group right here. Like, so take advantage of that. Don't just come and be like, yeah, I'll look fly. No, you're actually bringing a disservice to yourself by not focusing on the community we have. And then going back to the Black Wall Street thing, the reason that thing was so powerful in Tulsa is they had everything in that community. Black banks,
you didn't need to go out.
You didn't need to leave. We honestly don't need to leave. I think they say the black dot, you invest $1 in the Black community is gone in 6 seconds sometimes because you can't go somewhere else to where that dollar can be tracked. We need to do that. You have those people here, the Black lawyers here. I go out, I got a Black dentist, I got a Black doctor, I got a Black lawyer, my accountant is Black. All that is intentional. I might pay more. If I go to therapy, I got a Black therapist. That's not it. It's not about, it is part of, obviously, because they look like me, but it's also, I'd rather give them the money and invest in them and keep that money in the community versus like giving it to somebody else.
Because truly you're helping yourself. Right. Like, because that way that money's going to stay within your own community, which is going to then increase your wealth.
It just circulates. The money just starts to circulate. Yeah.
100%. And then the partnerships, and my job is to bring in the money.
Okay.
So kind of one of the things we've done that goes back to, honestly, man, this is going to sound weird, but COVID was a blessing for us in a couple of different ways.
It was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it was. So, because all we say, our motto in 2020 was how you pivot is how you prosper. And the reason we say that, and that's what COVID, everybody had to do that. Like, the world shut down. Nobody was prepared for that. Right. But are you going to say, like, throw your hands up and be woe is me? Or are you going to pivot and then figure out the next way to move forward? Even you said y'all been doing this for 5 months?
Yeah.
So, like, y'all, like, you know what? We can execute this podcast. How you pivot is to be able to do that. And that's going to be ongoing. So my job is to, as we pivoted, we launched our own podcast called The Check-In, shameless plug, on our podcast platforms.
Absolutely.
Then we got our YouTube series called Dapper Conversations.
Yep.
Which Martell sponsored that on Friday. We actually started, we have a Black male influencer network. We have 16 different guys where I help negotiate brand deals on their behalf. We've done deals with those guys this year. We've done Nespresso, Dick's Sporting Goods, eBay Watches, Corona, Shea Moisture, Bevel.
What does the process look for that? Because we're actually thinking about getting into sponsorships and
do you reach out,
partnership deals as well.
Is it like a vice versa thing? Like they come to you, or is it like you're on the phone all day?
So that's a good question. So it's a little mixture of both. One of the things, like I said, so I have a 9 to 5 as well.
Okay.
My 9 to 5, I actually work in influencer marketing at Weber Shandwick, which is one of the biggest PR firms in the world. So like, it's actually one of the reasons being able to grow. Like,
so this was an easy transition for you.
Yeah. What I do for my 9 to 5, like my job is to find influencers and get in the bag.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I look at it as like, what would I be looking for if I'm trying to give you the money? Like I just provide myself with what I'll be looking for. And honestly, as a black person in advertising, it's not that many of us. We like to think it's what. And black at the major advertising agencies, and I think it's like 5,500 people.
And you guys are based out of Chicago?
Yeah, but like globally, I think it's like 5,500 people.
Okay.
You think about that's like a small college.
Right.
So like, if you black and you in advertising, everybody know everybody. It's like 2 degrees separate. I went to this pool party yesterday. I run into my guy E. Thomas, who's a VP at BET, and I've known E. Thomas since I was at my previous agency for like 3 years, and I ain't seen him. He's like, bruh, proud of what you're doing. Good to see you. And then I run into my homegirl Jasmine. She's at another agency. Like, it's not even like, because everybody knows everybody because it's a small ecosystem.
Right.
So like, and it's agencies ain't that big. If you at Weber, then you go to Edelman, then you go to Leo Burnett, then you go to Ogilvy, then you go to Publicis. Like you gonna go from agency to agency. And obviously you can't burn those bridges, but then obviously you're gonna have an extended network. People kind of work together. So from that, I just been able to kind of have some good network. And then to your point, I pitched them. They reach out to us because honestly, people, especially with influencer marketing, only 11% of influencers are male, quote unquote, identify themselves as male. Yeah. And you gotta think about of that, how many are black, right?
Yeah.
How many influencers?
So women like completely dominate that.
Yeah, because you think about even most of the guys that are influencers, most of them actually don't identify as that. Most of them are like musicians or producers, or they're guys that play college ball, right? So they played at like USC or they hooped at Connecticut. So they got 20, 30,000 followers, or the club promoters, right? So they got followers off of that, but they're not quote unquote, they're not content creators.
Right.
When you think about influencers that are content creators, most of those are women. When you really think about it, like if you think about who you follow, most of those are really women. So it's tough for brands to find male talent, but especially black talent. And on top of that, you also look at even now, women are still there make most of the purchasing decisions. So we did a deal with Shea Moisture and Bevel. Y'all know Bevel too, right? Yeah. They're black owned. They do grooming products like razors, things of that nature. Majority of what they do advertising is women, because most guys, when it comes to hair care products, you don't actually go out and purchase it. It's like, you know what, your girlfriend might have this, your wife.
All my conditioner shampoo that's from my girl. Like I don't.
So it's like when most guys aren't in Walgreens or CVS or in Sally's walking down the aisle like, oh, this got argan oil in it. Let me try this out. Like dudes don't do that. But our demographic, a lot of guys that follow us do that.
Okay.
Right? They are the guy in the group chat like, yo, bruh, like, yo, I ain't gonna just like weird question, but what you put in your hair? Like, you know what I'm saying? What kind of brush you use? You know what I'm saying? What kind of conditioner? Oh, what kind of lotion? What the cologne you had on smelled good last night? What cologne you had on? So that's the value add that we have. So brands have access to that. You can go directly to men that they're not making that purchasing.
Actually, no, that's a good point. Actually, the only thing I think I'll go up to another dude and ask, like, what you put on your beard? Bro? I'm trying to get these patches filled in, man.
Right, 100%. Exactly. What beard oil you use?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Those are good. Like, you ask that, but honestly, like it's like a weird question for some guys to ask somebody too.
Yeah.
So getting back to how you guys started. So you said it was in 2018. Like, what was your first event? Like, what city did you guys first do?
Man, so Dre was doing the post, and he lives in Dallas, so he just did one. So Dre's a noob. He always talking about how he's cappers all the time. So he. I think it was a photo. I forget what, but it was 3 guys in that photo because I was checking on the internet. So I can kind of like, I know some guys. Let's get together. I think they probably had their first one. They had 25 guys, and from that, it was like, oh, this is dope. But same thing. This could be bigger.
So the first one was in Dallas. Okay.
This could be bigger. He said after that first one, I felt that like this doesn't need to be 25, 50 people. This can be hundreds of people. This doesn't need to be Dallas. This can be around the world. So he did that, did it again. Asked each guy that brought that time, bring another person. So then you go from 25 to 50. And then I think he ended up doing 3 in Dallas. And that third one was the one that kind of kicks out everything for us. That's the one with Harper. You know, the one Harper came. Y'all saw Harper was there yesterday. Yeah. The one that had the white suit on.
Yep.
And the photo we had, like, we had his fist in there. Bro, that photo's been reshared
Is that the photo with just the three? You guys?
Nah, so it's a photo. It's Harper. He has his fist in the air and he's like standing in the middle, and it's a bunch of guys outside line behind him. But that photo's been reshot literally hundreds of thousands of times.
Really?
Hundreds of thousands.
My favorite photo of you guys is you got this little kid in the center with his fist.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's the one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was the third flash mob in Dallas. And like that one changed the game. And like it's crazy. Like, and then you see Harper yesterday, like Harper full blown model now. He in TV shows and everything. And I'm so happy for him and his mom Ashley. Like they're great people. And it's like that kind of he's killing it. But even for that, like that photo went viral. And then what happened for us was we did so honestly, so Dre had a full-time job and how he was doing it, he was just traveling to cities based off of where he was going for work.
Okay.
Like if I know if I'm gonna be in Tampa for a client,
two birds, one stone.
Yep. I'm gonna be in Philly for a client, two birds, one stone. We did end up doing one. It would have been October 2019. I was going to London already.
Okay. So you guys are international then?
Yeah, we done one. We trying to do Paris in November. We're gonna do Paris in November. COVID permitted. We gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got my beret already ready. You know what I'm saying? Ready to go.
That's gonna be a look, yo.
Yeah, it's gonna be a look. Losh, you need to come to that one for sure.
Besides Chicago, what would you say is your favorite city? Has been your favorite city?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I heard the DC one's a good one.
Yeah. It was DC. Also, not for me, because if you want to hit in gym, I'm not in any of the photos in DC because I sweated all through my suit. So I'm not in any of the photos in DC in that one. But it was definitely my favorite in terms of like that was one of the ones. Because if you look at it, we stopped doing color coordination. Okay. But we did that one. It was black, red, and green. Because obviously like the black, red for flag. Mm-hmm. And we actually nailed it. If you see it, you see the flow of that. And a couple things. One, that was the day after rest in peace King Chadwick Boseman had passed, right? Okay. And like the energy just being there, like that hit all of us hard because dude was battling cancer and nobody knew about it.
That was a hard one.
And was still making movies, right? And it's like that kind of your journey. You never know what somebody's going through, right? So even just the energy there and everybody, and it's also the day after the Million Man March, the new one. So it was like there's a lot of energy in DC that weekend. So that was probably one of my favorites.
Favorite city? Yeah. Oh, that's solid.
I mean, well, you were telling the story about you ended up going to London.
Yeah. So we went to London. So London, October 2019. I ended up going out there. Our videographer, Rod, our videographer at the time, Rod was like, I'll pull up. Mm-hmm. So we go. And we probably only announced it maybe like 3 weeks before we got there.
Short notice.
Bro, we ended up having 42 guys show up, which was dope. Like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but in London, like, that's dope. And a lot of these guys, we had guys coming from Luxembourg. You had guys coming from Belgium, flew in to London just
so these weren't even like your regulars. Like, these guys were just following you from like seeing what you've been doing.
And then we had a couple guys that were American that lived in London now, guys that were in grad school there. And it's like, oh, like, yo, like, I'm still in a foreign country. I knew y'all was. I just want to be around us, right? I want that community. I want that connectivity. But when I did that, I'm like, yo, like if we can do this in London in 3 weeks to get 40 people to show up, we hosted it at the Africa Center in London. We reached out to them on DM. They were like, we love to have you, and that was dope. And I was like, if we can do that, we can be more impactful rather than just announcing. I was like, Dre, we should do a tour because if you do a tour, it gives guys time to plan it out. Okay. I ain't gonna make it to Chicago, but I can make it to Detroit. I ain't gonna make it to Detroit, but I can make it to Philly. Right? So and they know it. So if they're gonna come, they can do that. Also, it gives them a chance to know ahead of time. So that's why we ended up doing the tour. And we were gonna do the tour last year, but obviously COVID threw a wrench in that. But we ended up doing the 3 towards the end of the year. And then here we are today. We just obviously Chicago, that was city 4. We got 6 more to go.
So 10 cities. So it's you guys do one a month, right?
1 a month, yeah.
Is this gonna? So it'll bring you right up to the December.
You're right in December.
Where's the last one?
So then we got next month is July 24th. We got LA. Detroit is in August. Philly's in September. Seattle's October. Paris is November, and then Miami.
How do you December. Do you guys still have a 9 to 5?
Yeah.
How do you guys manage this? Like seems like
Man,
This seems like a full-time job itself.
It is, bro. I be working like 60, 70 hours a week. But one of the things, I shout out Trell Thomas, Black Excellence Brunch. One of the things he said is, are you prepared for what you pray for?
Ooh.
Right. And it's like, end of the day.
You're dropping a lot of Facebook quotes right now.
Right. And end of the day, it's like, everybody wants, you always pray, like, I want to have a successful business. I want to have a successful side hustle. I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do that. But so if you were presented with that opportunity, it's going well, I'd be doing a disservice to myself to be like, I'm not going to put in the effort and not put in the time to do this.
Right.
Even with y'all podcast, right? Y'all could have just came and been like, you know what? I'm going to just go to Chicago, do the flash mob. Y'all didn't.
Yeah.
Like, we got a chance to be here. Let's do this.
Two birds, one stone, bro.
Two birds, one stone. Y'all chose to do that because y'all putting in this work. The only way this podcast is going to grow is for y'all to put in that work.
Right.
And it's dope. And I commend y'all for doing that because a lot of people wouldn't have done that. Right? They would have been like, you know what? We just gonna do it next time we gotta get naked. Y'all come out, y'all reached out to the hotel, dope setup. Like, that's what y'all supposed to do. Like, y'all got
we network it at the event yesterday. We got, some people like, yo, check us out.
Right.
We're in the group chat. Like,
and that's how it's supposed to be. So like, y'all gotta owe it to yourselves, which y'all having y'all jobs, to put in this work. And then that, like, if y'all got people of traction, y'all got the ability to do it, you gotta put in the effort to be able to do it. I'm a little bit this situation a little bit different because it's like, I'm single with no kids.
Yeah.
So I also have the time now. So it's like, if I'm literally like not doing it, I'm literally just choosing, I'm gonna just lay on the couch and watch TV. There's nothing stopping me. Nothing stopping me from doing it. Right. So it's like, if I'm gonna go to the city, gonna go. We have jobs, and unfortunately, except my agency, shout out Weber Shamek, they rock with us. Like, they're really supportive. They're really supportive of it. Like, I got a email from one of my SVPs yesterday saying like, yo, saw the flash mob on the news. Just want to say congrats. Like, that's like that, and that's cool.
Yeah, just to hear that.
They're cool. Dre's job, same thing. Like, they rock with it. Like, no pun intended. Shout out Rock Mitchell. Like, they big fans of it. Because at the end of the day, we're not just doing this just to make money. They see the impact that we have in doing this. How are you going to suppress that?
I mean, you guys got was it Beyonce's mom retweeting?
Yeah, Beyonce's mom. Shout out
y'all reaching the top, bro.
Tina, Taraji P. Henson last week. Shout out Queen Taraji. We've got a lot of people and even our podcast, we've had some good guests at our podcast too. And it's because they see the mission, they see the narrative, and it's genuine. Like, a lot of times people even see it outside of that, and it's like, oh, y'all just in suits. But then when you actually come and you actually converse with us, it's like, oh, no, you actually are doing more. Or what you said earlier, in the community, we're actually trying to make impact. And I have to be honest, even if it is just the suits. Okay, what's wrong with making a black man smile for an hour and a half? What all we go through? Like, honestly, real talk. Like, we talking about earlier with Philando Castile, you can literally, you in danger of being shot, not by the police, but anybody every day you leave your house. So even if it is just, I feel making a black man smile because he feels that he looks good for an hour and a half, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. I mean, even if you just look at it from that aspect, that's cool.
Any excuse for me to dress up is like, I'm there, and that's like, because I forgot the point I was trying to get at.
But actually, I wanted to ask you a question for the little boy that's just like thinking about making a career for himself and he just wants to become successful. What would you say what is some advice that you would give him? Because we see a lot of advertisement. It's usually athletes, right? Mm-hmm. They want to become an athlete. They want to become like, a rapper or something like that. But obviously you're making an influence in, you said something about coding, right? Like you talk about coding, like, because a lot, that's not advertised.
Right.
What is an advice for a little boy that's just like trying to do something in his life that you think, some advice that you could give him?
I would say, obviously, this is relative because not everybody has the same level of access to like internet, especially, some of the underserved communities, they don't have internet access, things of that nature. But honestly, you still have libraries read. Like, a lot of times people people get lost on like mentorship. There's a lot of people that have really valuable mentors just in books. Right? Okay. Like, you can get valuable advice just reading autobiographies, reading stories, doing research on people, and that person can be an inspiration, right? Like, you can study how that person moves. Like, end of the day, like, so you're like, where you want to learn how to code, read Steve Jobs' autobiography, right? You can go to the library and pick that up. It's 600 pages, but you pick that, it's gonna be some gems in there, right? You want to be fashion designer, read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight and understanding his jersey by how he started Nike, right? You might not ever meet Phil Knight, but you can read that book and read pages over and over.
How about audiobooks? Okay, that's all right. Okay,
for me, I say read. How I do
it. It sticks more. It sticks more when you read.
Yeah, when you read.
I'm gonna do. I take highlighters.
Okay.
So what I do, I take highlighters. So if I like, oh, that's a gem. So then that way, you can flip back to it later on. Like you might put a book down, you finish it, go back 6 months from now, and what I like about it, you flip through it. Oh, page 36. Oh, that was a gem. Page 105. Oh, that was a gem. Audiobooks too. I think the autobiography, of Malcolm X, narrated by Lawrence Fishburne, phenomenal audiobook. Phenomenal. That's another one. Like you hear his story, even like you hear everything from him being Detroit Red, right, to him being the pimp and the hustler when he was living in Boston, right, to his journey by him getting saved, converting, becoming a Muslim, how he's been in the community, even the fallout he started having with Elijah Muhammad, right? You navigating that, how to even deal with it. Yo, I was working with somebody like Elijah Muhammad, business partner. Now we're not even on the same level. Even those kind of things, like it's less about me and the leadership, just hearing how he navigated that relationship when they started to split. That's the gem in terms of how we navigate, in terms of how I interact with you, If Dre and I have, obviously knock on wood, we don't have it, but Tim and I, we have disagreements and discernments all the time, right?
We get that. We understand that fully.
Right. So it's like, but I gotta have conversations. I refer those kind of things, like how did he navigate the situation? He could never be, he's literally dead, but he can still be a mentor to me in ways. So I say reading, audiobooks, things that I was just doing research and discovery. You only know what you're exposed to, but you also got to put yourself in a situation to be exposed. That being said, I understand it's relative because not everybody has access to everything, but if you can do those things.
That's a great point because, growing up, I see a lot of people that, like I said, like they just want to be rappers, but there's so many other avenues. You could become a doctor, you could become an engineer, a structural. I'm personally a structural engineer, and there's like things put in place to make you successful. And it's a lot of people don't know about this, that there's like a program called a DBE, right? Where you could, like, the government literally gives you money just to start your business and become like a successful black-owned business, and it's specifically for minorities. And I feel like, you said breeding is one avenue, but being exposed, like I feel like the government should be doing a little bit more. Like the school system, some of the school system is a little broken, and obviously reading about different career avenues will make a difference in that little boy. I think
it's also like on a personal level too. Like I feel like the government and school systems have some level of responsibility, but I feel like
we also have self-responsibility as well.
You also have self-responsibility, and if you really want to, learn more about something, whether it be barbering or partnerships or engineering, like whatever the case is, you have to take it upon yourself to really do that. Put in invest the time within yourself.
But if you're not exposed to it, like sometimes you just need that exposure, like that. Oh shoot, I could do this because you just see it, right?
So go ahead.
But I think you're disappointed is because you're waiting for someone else to do it, right? You're giving like the government too much like responsibility, and I feel like to tie it in with you guys, like you guys are doing it. Like you're not waiting for nobody to. You're not waiting for the government or the school system to be like, oh, this is how if you dress like this, if you network like this, right? Like. You guys are actively doing it.
But you also said that you were exposed to something. Like something had to trigger for you to I'm gonna take this.
Right, but to your point, the reason you don't see that in the textbook is because they don't want us to know how great we are.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like, they don't want us to know how great we are. Like that's like even in
going back to the Black Wall Street, like they destroyed it. Right. Like literally the government. But go ahead.
No, like it's like there's a great I think the comedy troupe, they're called Astronomy Club.
Astronomy, okay.
Yeah. And they have a YouTube series. They have this great YouTube skit. They have all these black inventors in this room, right?
Okay.
And it's George Washington Carver in there. And George Washington Carver is in there just feeling himself. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm George Washington Carver. But and not to hate on George Washington Carver, but if you think about all he ever did was really make like peanuts. Like where you had like people forget the traffic, the stoplight that you see in every street, that's invented by a black person. The air conditioner was invented by a black person. The guy that actually made the electrical wick for Thomas Edison, that was a black person.
The air conditioner.
There's so much stuff that's even like, was it Jack Daniels? Is it whiskey?
Yeah, Uncle Nearest. The original recipe for Jack Daniels, Nearest Green, that was founded by a black person. So but all you hear about is George Washington Carver, right? Not to hate on him because you need him too, but they do that because it's like all you can
killed
do
the
is
peanut
peanuts,
game.
right? Like, all you can do is peanuts.
Right.
That's what they don't want you to know, that you can be more than that, right? So like even there's a guy here in Chicago, John Rogers. John Rogers owns Ariel Investments, the largest black-owned financial investment firm in the world. Nobody even knows about it. His business partner, Melody Hobson, guess who she's married to?
Who?
George Lucas.
Oh,
Right.
The director?
yeah,
Yes. George Lucas is married to a black woman who
Yeah.
runs the biggest black financial services firm in the
Oh,
world.
you just blew my mind,
Don't
man.
nobody know that.
Like, this is not even.
Yeah.
They gotta put
the
this on a
CEO of
Snapple,
Lowe's.
man.
Lowe's is a black, right?
Yeah. Don't nobody know that. So like those are the kind of things you're not gonna. They don't want you. They're not putting them in the textbooks. You're not hearing about that because you don't want it.
Who's they?
Who's
Who's they though? who is it?
No, but so it is a good, because you look about it. If you want to take it all the way back to slavery, right? The reason they didn't want slaves to read and write is because even if you read the story of Moby Dick, if you a slave, you're like, an ocean, y'all traveling on a boat. That means it's things outside of this plantation. I'ma leave.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not leaving to run away forever, you just want to explore to see what else is outside of here. That's why they didn't want them to read and write, because then you could think outside of here that there's a bigger world than this plantation.
Yeah, they like if you don't know if there's anything outside your bubble, you can't. Yeah, because
you can't
imagine it.
You can't imagine it because you don't know it exists. But if you
Yeah.
read Moby Dick, even if it's fictional, it's a whale in the ocean. You're thinking, what is an ocean? How do I go find an ocean? Even if that's all you know, you will walk to try to discover what this ocean looks like.
Yeah.
And if you're walking, you're going to discover new things outside of this plantation, right? But if you on this plantation and you don't have any imagination or any exposure to anything else in this world, literally does not exist outside the plantation, you're not even gonna leave because you don't even know the cap. Like, you can't even fathom leaving because you don't know that anything else exists.
Right.
Because you don't think there's any more than the current life you live in
at all.
Yo, and actually, I just remember the question I wanted to ask you was, how did you guys first feel like when you first did your event? Yo, honestly, because when I showed up yesterday, this is our first Black Menswear event. I was almost intimidated. Like, I actually like, it's like almost kind of overwhelming seeing like so many well dressed people. It's like so powerful. How was like your like first feeling when you first got into it?
Honestly, man, it's y'all. Like, it ain't like the feeling is like we can pull up and everybody else comes. Like, in Atlanta, Dre told me that there was a guy that came up to him in Atlanta and said I said, hey man, I mean, honestly, I was thinking about dropping out of college, but for being here, I'm good. And it was just off of that, because the energy that he felt and like seeing other people that are on the same journey in the path, that's all that he needed as affirmation to like, don't give up. That's what it's about. Like, that's when you say how I feel, like that's how I feel. Okay. I don't really care about the photo. I know the photos is going to turn out great, but that's how I feel. If I can impact somebody to do that, that's great. To your point, if it's a kid that sees that and it's like, I want to do that, or it's like looks up those people and like, oh, this guy's a doctor, I want to be that. This dude's a person to be that. That's all it's about. I don't care if I make a dime. Obviously, we do make some money off of it, but that's what it's about, right?
So it's beyond you. It's more about the community as well.
100%.
Where do you guys see this, or like, what are your future goals with this? Like, what's your next move?
Man, that's funny you said that. We're kind of building this car as we're driving it. But honestly, like, we really want to be one of the premier like black male content platforms. With our YouTube series, we're coming out. We got a series with Sommelier coming out, talking about like wine, black sommelier. Because if you think about it in terms of content, people don't care about black men, bro. They don't. So it's like, you think about all the content platforms you got for black women. You got Essence, Ebony, Madame Noir, Rio, Blavity. All that's female focused. There's not a content platform that speaks to black men, right? GQ for men in general does. To GQ's credit, they actually are kind of diverse. Like, they had Zendaya and Megan Thee Stallion on covers this past year. So they are very represented, but they're women. Right. But at the same time, it's like there's not a platform right now. Like, if you wanted to be like, yo, I want to learn, it's a single place content platform. Like, you have like an Essence or Ebony to where you could go to find all the continuous articles. You can't find it. So like, hopefully that's what we're trying to build for. Like, what can we do to build this continuum of black male content to help elevate everybody? So, and it's partnering with people like Fatherly or the Dad Gang that's focused on black dad content, right? Partnering with them so we can extend the message, like, not about highlighting black men, but like, nobody knows how to be a dad. You figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can get all the advice in the world, but you just, everybody's
no real blueprint.
Yeah, there's no blueprint because like everybody's child is different. Right? So it's like you're because the kids that you're even leading, they have different personalities. So you can't do everything that somebody else would with your child because your child is not their child. So like, but you still want advice and tips or things like that nature. The Black Wealth Renaissance, which is a podcast that focuses on like financial literacy, partner with those guys to get those things. And it's not like, how to balance the checkbook. You know what I'm saying? How you should, have it, how to have, what our IRA is, things of that nature. How to open your 401k. Dre does life insurance. A lot of people don't realize life insurance policy. People have that. You only have to get it when you dead. Like, no, you can get a life insurance policy that actually pays for your college tuition, right? Because people don't even realize that it's evolved. Like, even sharing that information, that's what we're trying to get to. It's just being a central place content platform. We have menswear in the name. That's what we started at, but that's just not solely what we are, solely on the style and the fashion.
So you guys are trying to attack all avenues then.
Like, financial literacy, that's a big one right there. Yeah, that's a big one for us.
No, because you got to, because the same thing earlier, you don't know what you're exposed to, right? A lot of times, even then, it's like, in terms of how many people do you know, even, they always say, like, it's black people that got more money underneath their mattress than they do in the bank, right? Because they're just afraid of investing, the bank, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, because financial literacy is very dear to me. Because a lot of people put their money in the bank. They don't know about a 401k or an IRA or an SHA or what, all of the different acronyms, right? And they don't understand, like, putting your money in the bank, you're actually losing money because through inflation, right?
Right, 100%.
Where if you put it in some sort of high yield savings account,
right,
or a 401k,
right,
or just the traditional IRA,
right,
you could gain, like, you're gaining more than you're losing over time.
100%.
We're just keeping cash, like that's like a terrible idea.
100%. 100%.
What if your house burns down? What happened then?
100%. And even now, like, even just like the advantage how Robinhood has made it so much easier now for people.
That changed the game up,
right?
That changed the game,
because it's like, to that point, like, even it's like for you to be able to do small wins, right? You know what I'm saying? You could easily, like, even just doing basic things, like basic investments, even like, okay, you can get people that can easily make $10,000-$12,000. Right? I was so mad. One of my homies like, yo, this is February last year. Get on Zoom. And Zoom was like $38. I was like, bruh, all right, dude. By May, that shit was like $400. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine how many people, $38, not to say anybody, but you could have
made, even with one share, you would have done like, all right. Like, and imagine you put $1,000
You could make $30,000 a year, decent money. Like, you know what? I'm a $38. I'm gonna buy $200 of this, five, 6 shares of this, and then by May, $400. You done made $1,000, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Now you got that $1,000, and you can spend that and reinvest that. Now I'm gonna buy more, right? Yeah. So like, you don't need a lot of money to do investing, but we always have been told to be an investment to make much money, you got to have money. You really don't need that much money to do it. You just got to do it, right? And then once you do it, you can just reinvest on top of it as you continue to be successful with it.
I mean, I think, me personally, I was scared to invest for a long time myself. You just don't, you're always scared of things you don't understand, right? And then, like, a lot of people, or me myself, right? Sometimes I can be real lazy when it comes to learning something new. But when I finally did, I was like, oh man, like, I've been missing out. Like, this is, like, investing is actually a lot easier than a lot of people think.
Let me ask you that. Why would you say you're lazy when it comes to learning something new?
I think,
that's a great question.
It could be a couple of things, yo. It could be just a fear of failing. Like, it's like if you try to learn something and you don't get it, it's like you just don't feel good.
That's what it is for me. Yeah.
Fear of failing.
Yeah.
I look at failing as an avenue to learning. The more you fail, the more you know how not to do something.
Right. So the thing, I don't really believe in failure because you only fail when you stop.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a good point. Right?
So it's like, to your point, it's like not being able to learn it. Like, the reason you fail is because you chose to stop.
Yeah.
Right. You're an engineer, right? Structural engineer, like that. You have to learn how to sketch in whatever system you're doing. Like, you might mess up on a building, right?
Bridges. If I mess up on a bridge,
but you can. But
we're all fucked.
Yeah. But you keep progressing though, right? When you say when you make that decision, Evan, I'm closing this book. Evan, I'm closing this browser window. I'm closing my laptop, right? I'm like, you know what? I'm done. That's when it's a failure,
Yo, that could be addicting, yo.
But it is. But that's why it goes back to earlier. How you pivot is how you prosper.
Ooh.
Right? Yeah. Because along the journey, you're gonna have different ways. Like even this podcast, right? You're gonna start moving now, and y'all have a direction for it. But it could be 2 months from now, somebody reaches out to you. iHeartMedia is like, yo, we want you to do the show, but we need you to restructure it entirely. Are y'all gonna be like, I don't really want to do that? Or are you gonna pivot and be like, I didn't think about it that way, but this is the way we can take this to the next level, right?
Absolutely.
That's pivoting. Or even not you know what? We can't do a couple episodes, right? Whatever financially, you can't do a couple episodes. You might not be able to record those episodes, but you can still meet as a team. You're like, you know what? Let's rewatch all the old episodes. How are we gonna make this better, right? So you're not failing because you're not producing it. You're just taking the time to go in a different direction.
Time to grow.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I say in terms of like going back to your point, like learning that fear of failure. It's like you're putting that on yourself. Like you got to expand it. You were excellent. So you learn every day. Like you just learned about how Chicago was great. Being here exposes yourself to different ways, different cultures, different things, different way of life. That's learning in itself. So you just gotta. And I'm not trying to be negative or condescending to you in any way. I'm just saying like just framing it up in terms of how you approach things, your thought process. It's like you have control over that. I'm a big believer that happiness. And because happiness is a choice, because like obviously anxiety and mental health and depression are real. I'm not trying to negate anybody that's doing
I know just like most days you can wait. Like if you're a mentally healthy person, most days you can kind of choose what kind of day you're gonna have.
One of the things I did for 90 days, I rated my day every day for skill.
You rated your days?
Every day.
What's the average rating?
8.4.
You have some great days, yo.
But the reason you do those is because if you have back-to-back days that are 6s, now you got to look at yourself like, why did I have 2 days in a row that's a 6? Because you don't want to keep having those, right? So now, like, is it someone going to work? I got to take another assessment. Is it me and my girls going through it? Like, okay, if I'm really mad, now I got like, let me have a conversation with her. We're like, what are we really going through? Because you got back-to-back days. A 6 is not a good day.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So if you got that average 6s happen. But if you get 2 days in a row, you don't need to have a third day that's a 6, right? There's no reason that third day should be a 6. So now that puts yourself to be like, what is really going on here to why these days are 6? Also, are they really 6s? What happens to you about waking up every day? What happens? You get out the shower, you stub your toe. Damn.
That's a -2 right there.
Yeah. So now you already got bad energy.
Right?
Then you go to Dunkin' Donuts, you spill that coffee in your shirt. Damn. Now you got 2 bad things that happen to you. Now, are people there? Let that affect the rest of their day. Mm-hmm. So the first email you get, Karen emails you, you clapping back at Karen, not really because Karen did anything, because you already frustrated because you stubbed your toe and you spilled coffee in your shirt. Right. So now you done created negative energy. You could also be like, you know what? Damn, this shit just happened. I'm gonna move forward with it. So that's why I say like
that's something I learned in my later years now. Is like, yo, sometimes I have to pause my day to kind of restructure it.
Ooh, that's
because I'll have like I will have moments like that where I'm like, I'll have a bad moment, and then I actually sense myself like going into that state of mind where it's just like you start feeling real negative, and I'm like, all right, let me just take a breath real quick. I think meditating helps with me a lot. I would literally close my eyes, take some breaths, like, you know what? I'm having a bad moment. I'm not having a bad day.
Right. Yeah, because if you don't take the time to really pause it right there, it becomes a trickle effect, and that coffee, that toe turns into the coffee, turns into you clap it back at Karen, turns into you doing something else, and then it's gonna keep going down. Right. You getting in an argument with your girl at the end of the day when you come home, and it's just gonna be you going to bed upset. You started the day bad, you ended the day bad.
Right, and now you done had a bad day. Honestly, really for no reason, because nothing bad really happened to you. Nothing really bad happened to you, but you had a quote. Man, I had a bad day. What happened? And then you'd read it like, bro.
Yo, in the grand scheme, most of your day, even your bad day, unless you get into like a car, like some really
things
bad,
do happen. Bad things do happen. But in the grand scheme of things, most days that are bad days really aren't bad. Like nothing really major. Like, unless you get fired from your job, you lose a loved one, you get into a car accident. Most days aren't really that bad. They're like you can choose to determine, was this a bad day? I mean, it might not have been great, but it's just a day. Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty average.
What would you say your average in the last 2 days have been? Mine's like at a 9.8 right now. My last 2 days have been 9.8. What about you?
I would say like an 8.
8
on average, yeah, because I just go to work, come home, and then
I'm talking about the last 2 days here.
Oh, last 2 days? Oh, it's been on like a 10 for me. I've been thinking, this was my dream city as a kid.
Really?
So
Why was that?
the buildings. Yeah,
you were an engineer.
Yeah, I'm an engineer, so like the drawbridges, you know what I mean? All of that just intrigues me, and just that's one of the reasons I decided to become a structural engineer was to design buildings. I went into the avenue of bridges, but this was like a 10 for me.
What about you, man? How your last 2 days been?
Oh, that's a good question. I know. Did you see when the bridge came up yesterday? Was you there when that happened?
No, I didn't. I missed it.
Right there by the Michigan Ave, so they had a boat coming, so they had to lift the bridge up. I was like, that'd have been.
We were probably at the park at that time.
That's probably something you would have been.
Oh yeah, I would have.
Last 2 days for me, I would say like solid 10s.
Solid 10s, yeah.
Last 2 days, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything I would have changed over the past couple of days.
Yeah, I loved it.
I mean, I said 9.8 because I bought a scratch off. I didn't win it. That would have sealed the 10.
I actually scratched something off my bucket list because I always wanted to go to the Willis Tower.
Yeah.
And that was at one point
Sears, right? That's the
it was called the Sears Tower back in the day. Now it's the Willis Tower, right?
If you live here, you say
Sears.
Nobody,
I'll go back to.
They're not claiming it. They're not claiming this Willis
Tower.
All right, the Sears Tower, and there's an observatory up there, and I always wanted to go.
Did it?
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah,
took pictures.
Yeah.
So that was off the bucket list right there.
People crazy. People be forgetting. Like that's like Chicago. People forget. I think it's I think that's still the third tallest building in the world. There's the one obviously
in the southern hemisphere. I think. Yeah.
Dubai. There's the one in
Dubai.
The one in
Dubai. Yep.
And I think it's Malaysia. But that building was the tallest. The Sears Tower was the tallest building in the world for like 80 years.
It was. Yeah.
like 80 years, and people forget that.
Yeah.
And it's like
I'll never forget.
Yeah, but like those are the kind of things like even when you just think about like Chicago, it's like you keep reminding me it's the tallest building in the state.
Matter of fact, Chicago was the birth of the skyscraper. Yep. It was the first skyscraper
That's because we had the city burned down. So the reason Chicago's so structured even when it's roads is because there's the thing where the Great Chicago Fire. They say what happened is Mrs. O'Leary's cow knocked over the lantern and they caught on fire, and literally the entire city got burned down. So when they did that gave the city, the engineers and the planners, the chance to redesign the city and restructure it as it could be, right?
Okay.
So that's why you were able to, from that, they could outline everything and maybe to build the skyscrapers moving forward.
Sounds like a conspiracy theory almost. Like,
I mean, a cow knocked over a lantern. That's what they say. Yeah, that's what they say.
And the wind started blowing, and
that's what they say.
I just want to wrap this up, but I just want to say, thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for speaking to us. And before we leave, anything you want to shout out, say?
Yeah, obviously follow Black Menswear at Black Menswear on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. We got Facebook. Check in with us. YouTube as well at Black Menswear. We do have our own suit line, Beam & Co. Suits. Shout out Jacob Clayton. He's our tailor. We are, as I mentioned earlier, we're in the middle of a tour. So if you in LA, Detroit, Seattle, Philly, Paris, Miami, come rock with us. We'd love to have each of you guys there.
Definitely worth it. If you're wondering, definitely come through. Like,
I'll say that. On a personal note, I like to say this with everybody. So, what's the first thing you ask somebody when you call?
What?
When you call somebody.
When you call the first thing I say?
Yeah.
How are you? Like, hey, how's it going? It's Manu.
Right. Yeah. How's it going? How are you? Right.
Yeah.
3 words. Right. What's the real question?
Whatever the topic that I'm trying to get to. Honestly,
I like to say, "Are you happy?"
Are you happy?
Yeah. So I like to say, like, next time you have like a friend, a loved one, rather than saying, "How's it going? How you doing?" Ask them, "Are you happy?"
Right? Yeah, but somebody could take that the wrong way and be like, "What do you mean? How am I happy? Do I look unhappy?" It's just like telling somebody, "Oh, you look like shit today. You look tired."
No,
it's like,
and that's okay because the reason you ask that question is you make it okay for them to say no. Right? So the reason I say this is make it okay for them to say no, because if you call somebody and you say, "How's it going? How you doing?" You be like, "Man, I'm cool. I'm straight."
Yeah.
Right?
And knowing damn well they're not.
Knowing damn well they're not.
Right? Most people don't think you care.
They don't. Exactly. So if you ask somebody, "Are you happy?" They might be caught off guard, but they're originally, it shows that you care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and it's like, and it makes it okay and you don't got to be there to help them. It makes it okay for them to say no. And if they say no, you just listen. You know how you can change somebody's life just by listening, right? Because you call to your girl, right? You could call him, like, "How's it going?" "Oh, man, I'm straight." But you be like, "Oh, yeah." You'd be like, "Bro, you know what? Me and my girl been going through it," right? Because oftentimes, especially it's like Black men, we don't have those outlets. You don't have those places to be able to just have somebody let out and just talk. Because all we talk about is women's sports, clothes and movies and stuff all the time. We just asking somebody. A lot of times we just going through stuff and you don't have that safe space. So even just asking somebody and even giving them to think about it, like, you know what? I am
happy.
That's also a good thing.
Even as Black men, it's kind of frowned upon too.
Right.
To be emotional and to have that outlet.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's the one thing I would like to leave with people. Just ask them about next time people that you care about,
That's really
loved
dope.
ones, friends, somebody.
That's
Next
dope.
time
I'm
you
gonna
talk to
do
them,
that.
just ask them like, you know what? Are you happy?
Yeah.
And then like, and if they say no, cool. And if they say, you know what, I am, that's great. And you want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? And even just having them think about it themselves, that's dope. So that's what I would leave with.
Yo, I think I really appreciate that, man. That's a
Yeah, I
really
appreciate that
good
too.
perspective to give. And before we wrap this up, I just want to give a big shout out to 3K Generations for actually putting us together. The flyest suits out there. And as always, please like, subscribe, share, comment. Keep tuning in and make sure y'all make it to one of their events, man. Can I tell you, it's life changing, so powerful, and just a good move for the culture.